Well, we're getting rumblings again that the Taliban peace deal might be back on. Now, the U.S. has not officially confirmed this from anywhere I've seen, but I've been hearing rumblings about this, on and off here in the last couple weeks. Of course, we've been hearing about this the whole time Trump was in office. Of course, I was following the negotiations led by Zalmay Khalilzad as they were ongoing, and they've been done for quite some time now. Pretty much since October, we've been told that the deal is in its final form. And of course, we haven't had any more negotiations since then. All that has been up in the air really is about the implementation of the agreement, which it's a little tough to understand what's going on because, of course, they never made the deal public because, not to Congress even, I'm sure, because this nobody has any right in America to understand anything about what's going on in the war in Afghanistan. We're just supposed to accept whatever's going on and just trust in our great leaders to do the right thing, just like they've been doing the right thing for the last 19 years in Afghanistan. It really disgusts me how much of a non-story this is in American media, and how, also just the ordinary American people do not care about what's going on in Afghanistan. I guess really, I'm definitely a big anti-draft guy. I would never want to bring back the draft, but it seems like that the only way to get people to care about what their government is doing overseas, what their taxpayer dollars are going to, is if there is a draft. So maybe it's kind of unhealthy to do this. Of course, I don't think that mass mobilization is a great idea. I don't think you want everyone in the military and everyone to have that same sort of mindset. I don't think that it's a healthy thing to send people off to war. Anyone, whether they volunteer or not. Because, this is some sick stuff that goes on over there, and it screws people up for life. And it's really hard not to be apathetic about all this because, of course, we as ordinary citizens, like I said, have no control over any of this. So what's the point in caring about it? You're just going to make yourself upset. The people over there are going to keep dying no matter what we do. All that matters is, frankly, not even what the president wants, because supposedly this president came into office wanting to pull the troops out of Afghanistan on day one, and here we are. He's up for re-election, and it still hasn't happened. Obama said when he was going to get into office, the first thing he was going to do in the first 100 days was close Guantanamo Bay prison. Well, here we are. 12 years later, Gitmo's still open. And so I wouldn't even say that the elected president is necessarily in charge. It seems like the elected president is the dog being wagged by the tail of that is the national security state. Instead of the permanent bureaucracy and the military and all of these various alphabet soup agencies, supposedly serving the American people at the pleasure of the elected president, it rather seems to be inverted, that the elected president gets to quote-unquote serve the American people at the pleasure of the national security state. And so to the extent that this peace deal in Afghanistan is moving along, it can be understood that the national security state is softening on Afghanistan. Perhaps that they, maybe have come to their senses and realize that there's nothing to be gained in Afghanistan, or perhaps they're just tired and they realize that they're just spinning their wheels there and there's nothing really going on. Part of the reason why things have stayed in Afghanistan the way they are is that things have never been it's never been like in Afghanistan that there was a danger of losing. It's not like there's been an exorbitant loss of American life in Afghanistan. And so it's allowed the military to stay there and continue doing its operation and act like it was doing something. Actually, it was great because it was like a treadmill. You never really get anywhere, but you can do a lot of running and work up a sweat. And it allowed all of these officers to, move up the ranks because they have all this combat experience. And a lot of guys, became generals who were otherwise mediocre leaders. And so the whole war has really been a big make-work project for the U.S. military, and of course for the military-industrial complex, which supplies them, ever more weapons and bombs and planes and things. And since the American people never seemed to give a damn about Afghanistan one way or the other, there was never really much impetus to get out from that end. So it really was a perfect situation. And for that reason, I'm still skeptical that this peace deal thing's going to come to fruition. Here we have the Taliban on their end saying, hey, everything's good. We're good with the peace deal. We want peace with America. We don't want to fight you forever. And I have no problem believing that. I mean, the Taliban, are pretty clear in their goals. They have pretty, well outlined goals, and that's to, kick foreign influence out of their country. And then, whatever they do after that, you don't have to think that that's necessarily a good thing. I don't think the Taliban are good. I don't think that them oppressing all of the other ethnic groups in the country is a nice thing. But I can understand why they don't want foreigners ruling over their country. It's a pretty basic instinct that, most human beings have. And so I don't expect them one day to just, surrender and say, oh, gee, we were wrong. We're much better off under American rule. No, that doesn't usually work when you're trying to occupy a territory and the people who live there say no. That's kind of the end of the story. You'll never be able to properly conquer it. You have to get the people to capitulate, in spirit. This is what, after the Vietnam War, they called winning hearts and minds. They said, oh, that was our real problem in Vietnam. We didn't win hearts and minds. And, they're damn right you didn't win hearts and minds. But you didn't do that in Afghanistan either. In fact, you made, of course, a whole new generation of enemies for yourself by constantly bombing and terrorizing these people, even, people who have nothing to do with the Taliban. Just like in Vietnam, how people who had nothing to do with the communists were terrified and terrorized by the U.S. because, the U.S. didn't know who was an enemy and who wasn't. And, the same thing is true here in Afghanistan. It's a very messy situation. Now, the one thing that does give me hope for this peace plan, however, is that, this is an election year. And Donald Trump did run in 2016 on getting out of Afghanistan. I don't think even Obama did that. Obama ran on getting out of Iraq, which kind of happened, although the U.S. was right back after that. We have 5,000 troops there now. But Trump, his thing was, hey, this Afghanistan thing, bad idea. Syria, bad idea. Of course, Syria, there was never even any debate. Actually, there was a debate in Congress, and it was struck down. And they said, Obama, don't do this. It's a bad idea. And then, of course, Obama went and did it anyway. Trump was supposed to get us out of there. Again, kind of half did. They're still in Syria. But anyway, because we're in an election season, I think that Trump is incentivized here to try and get himself a win on Afghanistan and actually, pull through on this and get the troops out of Afghanistan, or at least have some kind of, show deal to where he can, shake hands and say, look, we made a deal, we ended the war is officially over, even if the troops aren't out, which probably won't happen yet. But then again, of course, I don't think the Taliban will ever accept peace with American troops there. That was their big thing. They didn't want to be occupied by the United States. But anyway, I think that the president is strongly incentivized to get a win on this, and so it may be worth it to him to try and overrule the military-industrial complex or the national security state in this case, and actually carry through on his promise. And so that's the last bit of hope I'm clinging to. I'll be very interested to see what the executive branch has to say about this deal that is now supposed to be coming to light soon. Hopefully, maybe we'll actually get details of what's in it. What exactly is going to happen. But until then, if you gained anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.